Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. To me, thanks and appreciation. But most certainly, thanks and appreciation to the CEO of FMDQ, Bola Odnodele, who we call Coco, the representatives of the governor and the deputy governor, particularly Mr. Okeje, representatives of the, well, I think, how many board members are here? All the board members of FMDQ, Yinka Sani in particular. First of all, I'm an extremely proud Nigerian. I'm very proud to be here today. I take great pride in FMDQ's achievements. Today we celebrate the Nigerian OTC futures market, but literally maybe every quarter, I read the newspapers or I see on TV or on the internet another first by FMDQ. I think that my pride comes in the fact that perhaps God just placed me in the right place at the right time to be part of history. I'm really touched when you make references to president of the financial markets and so on. But at the end of the day, you know as well as I do that the achievements being recorded today as a result of the collaborative efforts of many. Some actually who precede us, if we think about people like Funke Oshibodu, and we can go on and on. Bismarck, I don't want to call that ancient history, but we can, But I think I need to start my remarks by stating clearly why my involvement in financial markets is very important. I started my banking career in 1988, and I started getting involved in the markets in 1992. And essentially, what was clear to me was that then, and it holds true for now, is that there is a perfect correlation between the advancement of economies and the advancement of their financial markets. You cannot strip it. I don't know whether there's a cause and effect, but it's just perfect. And therefore, it was clear to me that, look, if Nigeria sought or seeks to move from third world to first world, just like Singapore, I don't know which is going to come first. I think the markets will come first. The financial markets have to move in turn. And I used to, make this joke. I said, look, in any market where price formation of any asset is based on, and you do this, you can imagine, the nature and rate of economic development. And we had to move to a system whereby prices are set based on empirical data and financial principles. We are moving in that direction in Nigeria, and I'll speak more to that. Now, FMDQ as an idea or a vision was not mine. It was certainly the collective vision of FMDA. It was brought to me in my capacity as chairman of the BOT, Board of Trustees of FMDA, in 2009. 2009 was when we had the intervention. So this must have been after the intervention had cooled down. I'm talking about Lamido Sanusi's intervention, and when we had clear minds to think. And I think Coco remembers my very first statement. And my first statement was this: guys, this is fantastic. If we make this work, this is a revolution. And I have noticed that in the addresses, the word revolution, revolutionary, and so on, and I said we have to make it work. It's not going to be easy to move from your idea to reality, but we will be strong, we'll be courageous, we will face the battles, and we will make it work. I introduced this to the Bankers Committee in 2010, I believe. And with some resistance, not for any other reason other than the fact that in everything new, particularly where you have risk managers in a room, people are going to say, look, where are we going with this stuff? But then we got on board and everybody got behind it. Bankers Committee, most impressively, the central bank. Typically, actually, you don't find central banks playing the type of role that the central bank, and indeed, actually, the SEC is playing in the advancement of financial markets, because regulators tend to want to step back and be in a position to regulate these developments. But look, when there's a vacuum, somebody has to step forward. And so the central bank, became a very, very primary stakeholder in this process of advancement. In January 2011, I remember our SEC registration meetings. We went for interviews at SEC. the CEOs of several banks, and we were seeking registration for an exchange. And I was just waiting for them to ask the question, which of you has run an exchange before? Fortunately, they didn't. But then we had the stock exchange as a shareholder, and I think that the stock exchange has played a great role in building the FMDQ vision as we know it. Now, we were launched in November 2013. That day, Coco nearly brought tears to my eyes, you know, and in his flattering compliments. But the tears were less, you know, Ike, this is what you've done, and more that Ike could have been part of this gathering of brains, Nigerians, and indeed some foreigners who have made history. And I just thank God, and I thank you guys for allowing me to play the role I did. Now, you see, my philosophy, and I am very strong when I make these statements and when I debate these points, are that market-based systems are vastly superior to any other form of system of allocating resources in any economy. And history has proven me right. I mean, you know, there is no economy in the world that has survived anything other than a market-based, you know, fundamental underpinning of how economic, you know, resources are allocated. And therefore, the power of exchanges and platforms is that they provide the basis for the efficient allocation of resources. Now, I want you to think for 1 minute that, let us assume that FMDQ didn't exist. How would you actually implement this futures market? A futures market that has the conditions of liquidity, transparency, price discovery, and clear communication cannot be implemented without the likes of FMDQ or some other SRO or exchange. So what is my message? My message is this. Many of the things that we've been calling for, futures have not, we've been calling for futures for years. We've been calling for, if I look at debt capital markets, we've been calling for systems by which corporates can decide to issue a bond, and within a week, you've priced that bond and you've issued it whatever size. That's what we look for this country. But why have we been calling for it and it's not been happening? Because we didn't have the market infrastructure to do it. The market infrastructure in the form of exchanges such as FMDQ. So it is in our own selfish interest. And I'm not just talking here about intermediaries like banks, treasurers, and so on. I'm talking about corporates. I'm talking about people on the buy and sell side. Most importantly, I'm talking about Nigeria. To promote platforms like this. Platforms like this represent our future. And Nigerian Stock Exchange, well done for the work you're doing, and I like the acknowledgement by Coco that is the foremost exchange in Nigeria. But Nigerian financial markets are taking huge leaps. And I pray that this will provide the basis for the Nigerian economy similarly to take huge leaps. It's also interesting, I see my friends in the media, and I watch the TV and I see them mention NIFEX, NITI, NIBOR, and so on. And they speak so eloquently and so well. And you can see the developments. I see stockbrokers talking about NITI. And if you spoke about these things before, you said NITI, somebody might think they're reggae, you know. but you see the markets and the country progressing. But however, we must expect challenges in the future. Market development is not an easy thing. There will be volatility, there will be shocks. You know, we wake up one morning and we hear that Great Britain has chosen to leave the EU. It will continue to happen, but you must be strong and you must be courageous. And of course, you must collaborate. Coco and the team, and indeed FMDA and the entire markets and country, I congratulate us all. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that address, Mr. Ige Mokwede. When we combine all the speeches and the remarks, my presentation has been done, and it's almost like maybe I don't need to do or say anything, but just so we can, you know, follow all protocol, I would actually just go through the presentation. So this is basically what we've been talking about from the start. You know, the Naira-Settled OTC FX futures. But why did we necessarily need this Naira-Settled OTC FX futures. When you look at the Nigerian FX markets over the